This week, our Stogie of the Week is from EP Carrillo, and it is a very, very large cigar that we're going to tell you all about. We're going to talk about buying cigars online, and I think more importantly, the persona of the different buyers and who can benefit from buying some cigars online, who can benefit more from going to the brick and mortar. And then I think you make the transition into benefiting from both. So Joe and I will talk about that, as well as covering our Stogies of the Week. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. This is the Stogie Geeks Show. This is a Security Weekly production. Broadcasting live from Villiger North American Studios, it's the show where cigars burn slow, ashes fall fast, and cocktails flow steady. It's the Stogie Geeks Show. Hat tip, can we play that?
Yeah, one more time. Can I hear a... Yes!
Yes! Yeah!
Enjoy the dirt.
Guests and friends here in studio, including a regular cast of characters, Mr. Joe Hollywood to my right.
How are you?
That's awesome. Joe D's here. Rain Man's here. What's going on, Joe D?
Roundtable discussions.
Havana Cigar Club, located in Warwick, Rhode Island, is a great place to enjoy a drink and a cigar. Stogie Geeks listeners can find a $5 off coupon on our website by clicking the HCC logo.
Welcome, everyone, to this edition of the Stogie Geek Show. I'm your host, Paul Asadorian. Very excited to be here. Been smoking a lot of cigars lately, filling up my new humidor. I'm here with Mr. Joe Hollywood to my right. What's going on?
How's everything going?
Dude, the shot looks all. Look at that. We got a new lamp in the back here. It's just it's looking. We got a new plant. It's looking spectacular. I really like it. I really like it.
Liking the changes.
Yeah, it feels so comfortable now.
It's
even
warm
more comfortable.
lighting.
Yeah,
It's warm lighting.
it's very nice. Very nice. So how you been, man? I know I missed last week's show.
I'm doing good. Did you see last week's show?
I haven't even watched it yet.
Oh, okay.
I was on vacation with the family this weekend and such. So
Yeah. It was a good show.
that's
It
good.
was a good show. It was an opportunity for Joe D and myself to let the audience in on, kind of our backgrounds and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Oh, good.
It's
Oh,
always, it's always about the host, and Paul, so.
Can't be all about me, man. Can't be all about
So
me.
it was good. I was shocked that Joe D, the story we were talking about, how Joe D, his very first day on the fire department was September 11th, 2001.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think I
and
remember him
so we
saying
did a little bit of reflection on that because it was September 11th.
Right.
And then we had spoken to the contrast of almost what we're going to talk about today. So it's kind of like it's a good segue for sure.
Yes. I want to talk about our cigar of the week. I went big. I don't know if I can go big like this, but I went big. And this is the EP Carrillo. This is an original offering from the EP Carrillo core line. This size is a natural wrapper, and the size we're smoking is the Monumentos. It's 7 3/8 by 56. It's a pretty big cigar.
It is.
And it smokes really good. I've smoked a couple in preparation, of course, for the show. That's what we do. We smoke cigars. So I had to smoke a couple, and I wanted to feature it as Cigar of the Week. It was introduced in 2011, and the natural wrapper is Ecuadorian Sumatra. It's a double Nicaraguan binder. In the fillers, of course, Dominican and Nicaraguan. It's interesting. One of the posts from 2011 do not list the size in the size offering. It might have come later. In some of my research, and I haven't checked with the source on this yet, but I'm told the cigar is discontinued, which is kind of a shame because I really I like smoking them. I think it's for a big cigar, man, especially, like you get a ton of flavor from it. And a lot of those larger cigars tend to lack in the flavor department, run out of gas. In my experience, this cigar doesn't do that. It's just a great. It's certainly a box split, in my opinion, from smoking them. I'm curious to see your opinion on these. I don't think this is something you necessarily smoke every day unless you had a lot of smoking time. My smoking time on these has been, over the 2-hour mark.
Right.
Which doesn't leave me a lot of time to review other cigars. So
for its size, you do get a lot of flavor.
Yeah. I think these are probably aged. I'm not sure exactly how long, but I did purchase these online, which is our topic for today that we're going to lead in with.
There's a lot of mixed feelings.
There's a lot of controversy. Now, early on in the Stogie Geeks history, we have talked about buying cigars online, buying cigars on online auctions. To be quite frank with our listeners and viewers, I don't do the auction thing anymore. I used to. I used to do pretty well on cigar auctions. There's a couple of different types out there. I guess I'm more selective now. Whereas before I was kind of trying, which kind of, I guess what I want to lead into with this segment is, when we talk about buying cigars online, I think where it gets the negative, there's a lot of reasons why it gets the negative kind of stigma associated with it. And I think that's because, and I'll say, an uneducated consumer that says, I want to buy some cigars. So I'm going to go to the, popular, probably 5 websites that are out there. When I Google search for buying cigars online, right, there's the popular 5.
The same 5 will show up.
Same 5 will show up. When you search for a cigar, a lot of those same 5 show up. If you say, hey, I want to try a Rocky Patel cigar, I want to try Arturo Fuente cigar, largely those sites are the ones that are going to show up because they have to put a lot of investment in their Google search rankings. So the uneducated consumer that doesn't know a lot about cigars, and I'm not saying uneducated like they're stupid or they're an idiot, they just haven't been exposed to the processes and the different blends and tobacco and manufacturers and sizes and leaf and wrapper and binder and filler, largely which we've discussed and been learning here on this show. They've been exposed to that. So they go online, they buy a 5-pack, a sample pack, a couple singles, maybe a box, who knows, and that's their limited kind of view into our wonderful cigar industry. And I think that frustrates a lot of people as it's largely based on price, right? Like what's on sale, and that's what they're buying. And it's taking away from the brick and mortars that can do a much better job of educating the consumer. Now, sure, you can go read reviews online, but I tell you what, having done that for a lot of years and tried cigars based on other people's reviews, mixed success, I would say. I don't know what if you do a lot of review reading, but I certainly did, especially early on when we were doing Stogie Geeks, did a lot of, this is this person's top 10, that person's top 10. I think where you do get mileage for the newer cigar smoker is to go for multiple sources, right? Go read multiple blogs, multiple podcasts, multiple videos, whatever you want to consume. And if you notice a trend, maybe that's a cigar you want to go buy. And sometimes you can only buy a box online. Not so much the case today, but with shipping and everything, you might as well buy that box. Whereas you go to a retailer, it's the opposite experience. You can ask someone their opinion in person, have a conversation with them, and buy a single and see if you like it. And so there's a huge benefit for a lot of reasons to visit your brick and mortar. Right. The experience, as I'm sure you guys talked about on the last show, right? That whole retailer brick and mortar experience is not to be missed. And I think that's some of the frustration when people go buy them online and they smoke it, wherever, not in a shop. They're missing out on some of that experience, right? Right.
And I also think that you got that going on, which you just explained, and then you also have, I think the consumer behavior is changing as well when it comes to, they might not be buying boxes. They might be buying, 4 or 5 packs instead of boxes.
Or sample packs. You find a lot of sample packs. I tell you, I haven't bought a sample pack online in a really long time.
Right.
Largely because you get two good maybe ones 3 good ones, and the rest are kind of,
Yeah. So, and I think if you're new to cigar smoking, and even if you're new to going into a brick and mortar or going online, you all this data is being thrown at you, right? Whether you walk into a humidor and it's got 200 facings or 600 facings, or you walk into a virtual humidor online and now you have a shopping cart and all this data is there, and it can get on information overload. So then the consumer might take the easy way out and just say, well, I'll just get the 5-pack because I recognize 2 of what's in the 5-pack.
And you want to try the other, which I tell you what, in the beginning, sample packs I think are okay. You should experience the sample pack, right? And that's how you're going to find out what you like. Although I think much better is to visit that brick and mortar and work with them to figure out what you like. You're going to have a much better, I certainly had a much better experience doing that rather than some random 5, 10, 15 cigars that I purchased online. When I would go to a place like Mr. J's on a smoke shop, right? And I would talk to Mark, Stogie Santa, and I'd be like, well, I've tried this or that and different characteristics. And he'd be like, dude, try this, right? Much better. And then I go back, I'm like, I really like that. Can I buy a box of those? That was really good. So I think you do have those experiences. Now, as you progress, however, you can progress to the point where I think more of what you like, and this is never perfect, right? But more of what you like. You know some brands that you might like. You're familiar with some of the wrappers and different tobacco. You maybe have tried a lot of cigars. And this is one reason why I encourage people to try a lot of different cigars, right? Because I may have picked up a couple at some local retailers here, and I've kind of added that to my catalog in my brain so that now when I shop online, when those specials come across, I'm like, yeah, I know I tried that. I wouldn't buy that again. We have our rating system, right? It was a try one. It was a $5. I'm like, nah, am I going to go jump on something online? Probably not. But when stuff comes across where I'm like, oh, I don't even understand why that's on sale for that price. Could be a lot of reasons, right? Not because it's a bad cigar, bad manufacturer, certainly. That's not what we're saying. It's that cigar's on sale. Yeah, maybe they get some extra inventory. Maybe it's being discontinued. Maybe they're just making room for new product, and that's the one for them that's not selling as well. So that cigar goes on sale. I tell you what, I've been killing it lately. Not just, and just be fair, not just online, but in brick and mortar as well. Mm-hmm. They're doing the same thing. They only have so much room, so many facings. They've got to move product that's either being discontinued or it's not selling for them. And I tell you what sells in one shop a few miles down the street or even 10 miles won't sell in the other one. Right. So you can always find something that is maybe being discontinued. I also find stuff that gets discontinued. I really like buying it, but I go to another shop locally in Rhode Island, went to see our friend Jana, and I'm like, oh, awesome, you have those in stock. I'll buy those at her price for those, not even on sale because they sell well in that store. Yep. So I actually picked up a box of a particular cigar. I was like, yeah, I like that one. It's actually the Griffin's Nicaraguan. I really love that cigar.
I love Griffin's.
It didn't sell well in but it sells well in Jana's shop. Obviously carries it, and I'm like, yeah, I want to. Yes, that's great. You carry that.
It's an older blend. It's an older.
That's actually a newer Griffin's.
Well, the Maduro is, but back
the Griffin's brand goes way back.
It goes way back, and it just I don't know. I
smoked one earlier. I'll talk about.
I don't know if it's a combination of you got a picture. It's kind of like this storm, right? Everybody's talking about storms, right? You got information, say 10 years ago, didn't come to us as consumers as fast.
Yes.
So for example, social media, now you can follow the cigar rep of your favorite cigar brand, and you'll know when they check in where they are. And, then they'll post information about the event so you can see other events.
And that's a good point. There might be specials.
Right.
Same thing that you find online. There might be specials.
Right, because I noticed that whenever either we did an event at the cigar shop or the day after a brick and mortar does a cigar event, the day after is dead.
Yeah.
Because everybody either spent their
budget,
budget or their allowance, or they'll come in and then they'll smoke the one that they got from the deal and not ring in the till. And I see that consumer behavior happening. But then now with the way that the huge presence that the consumer has to the information on the internet, you can now buy them without going to your brick and mortar. And I bet you, numbers wise, the amount of smokers is probably the same, but I bet you it's kind of like water in the brick and mortar's hands.
Yes.
Year after year, not annual sales, but year after year, volume of sticks moving out of the building.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So you have that type of argument going on the retailers. I mean, I speak to just like Jody. We go around a bunch of shops, and that conversation comes up a lot. I'm up, blah, 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 2%, 3%, 5%, whatever the number is, but we're selling less sticks.
Yeah.
So in other words, you did have a price increase, and now, but the volume of sticks is not out the door as far as the number of sticks there. So,
and some retail shops have an online presence as well.
Well, I can tell you that the ones that, they always say within any industry, if you don't ride the wave of change, you'll be underneath it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So the brick and mortar that is anti-online, which there are some here in Rhode Island for sure. There are some in Massachusetts and New Hampshire that I know of. And even as far as when I do my travels to South Carolina and North Carolina, there are some brick and mortars who, especially down south where they get a vacation crowd, so they want to encourage those vacationers to spend with their consumer dollars throughout the year online for that shop. But the ones that don't, because they're anti-online because of price protection, I'm sure we'll get to that as well.
Absolutely, we will.
Right? you got to be online. Like you have to.
I think that buying online, you definitely two aspects. One is, I think, availability. I may just not be able to buy that cigar locally. Now, in Rhode Island, that's becoming less and less of an issue because there are so many shops with a wide variety of fit. Even still, there are stuff that I'm like, I can't either get it locally or it's not easy for me to get it locally. I have to drive in Rhode Island. I know it's not that long, but I'd have to drive quite a distance and see if they have that and carry that particular cigar. So there's the availability, but then there's also the I want a deal. Right, kind of shopping. When we talked about the deal shopping that goes on, and I really think that the newer smokers, I want to encourage them to go into a local brick and mortar. More experienced smokers, I want to encourage a good, healthy balance between online and brick and mortar because I think you can have a great experience. And so as an experienced or even new smoker, availability is one thing. And certainly I've bought stuff online, even from the big five. And sometimes they're smaller. There are some, like if you talk to your cigar buddies, usually I found out about these, right? Or you go in the forums or Reddit, you find out about some of these smaller boutique online retailers that maybe have a shop associated with them, sometimes not, that you can find stuff that you won't find local. You can find those hard to find limiteds. The only place you're going to get those is if you shop online or if you're picking up the phone and calling a retailer somewhere in the United States and seeing if they have that stuff in stock. Mm-hmm. I typically don't pick up the phone and call because I'm busy. I tend to do my shopping online. And again, one aspect of my online shopping is for availability. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of that's driven towards the show. Finding what's new out there sometimes forces me to go online and do that. A lot of times locally, you might be limited as to how many you can buy, 2 per customer. They've got a limited stock, and they're protecting it. Sometimes online, you can score a box of that particular limited item. Mm-hmm. So that's one. I mean, that's a pretty fair case I think I'm making for online retailers, and why you, as the consumer listening, you might want to go online. And it's hard because you don't necessarily know if that cigar is going to be good or not. And
you mean if you just bought it blind?
Yeah, if you just buy a box blind. Yep. Like, I got the latest limited thing, but sometimes I'm like, that really wasn't that great.
But
right?
There's also, as an experienced smoker, as opposed to a beginner, experienced smoker might know who the roller is, who's behind the blend. There's a bunch
buying
of
it blind with a little information kind of tucked under your belt. I agree.
There are some sticks that we've talked about at our Stogies of the Week that there's been, which I think is where the industry is starting to go. We're going to see in 2017, 2018, probably 2018 IPCPR, a lot of collaboration work.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when 2 companies collaborate and put out a stick together. Right. There are benefits of that business-wise, but so if one collaboration has one strength in something and another company has another strength in there, and they collaborate, sometimes it's a good thing. Yeah. And sometimes it's a instant hit. And sometimes, like everything else in this industry, it's got to wait a little bit. Yep. The stick comes out too early. It gets released. And, I have a hard time as a consumer purchasing something and then wait. If I bought a car,
you want to drive it.
I want to drive it.
Yeah, I hear
you. Know what I mean? You buy a cigar.
I tend to be more patient with that, right? As you get a little bigger inventory too in your humidors, you can be more patient with that. Also, back to my previous point, when you go to brick and mortar, maybe I got 1 or 2 really limited cigars, and then they flat out don't have any more, and I really want more. I will turn to online to go. I will give that go back to the retailer and say, hey, like, you got any more of those? Mm-hmm. That's when I will, text message, pick up the phone. Do you have more? If they don't, which usually they don't because they have a limited supply, then I will go seek online because that online shop may have gotten some and they're not moving them for whatever reason, or maybe they just got a fresh shipment. You get an email and you have your opportunity to buy. Mm-hmm. The deal thing is interesting.
Well, to me, the deal thing is 2-part. Outside of the cigar industry, what I'm noticing a lot with my business customers and all that stuff, people want a deal.
Oh, they want the deal. Oh, I just got this box XYZ manufacturer, and it was such a deal. And I'm like, what did you get? I'm like, right. I don't know about that. Right.
And I don't know. I have so many mixed feelings about the deal. You know what I mean? Has nothing to do with cigar industry in specific, but if we want to take some time aside and talk about the deal. But why is the consumer wanting the deal all the time? Like, the consumers always wanted the deal.
Yeah.
But now the deal, I think, from either the brick and mortar shop owner or the online retailer, the deal is like, see, before you would shop and then ask for a deal. Now I feel, and please, if you think it's any different, just, we can have a discussion about that. Now I feel like the deal is like the lead-in card.
Yes. No, I agree.
You know what I mean?
Completely. Yeah. No, it is.
It's like they want on everything, every single thing. Now, the auto industry, I think, already started that correction with the sticker price, even up on the commercial. You walk in.
CarMax?
Yeah, CarMax. So you get all your information. So now their combat with that is they're educating the consumer should educate himself or herself before they walk out on the car lot to purchase, all the way up until loan finance. And I know in the mortgage industry, same thing, you can't look at houses unless you're pre-approved and all of that stuff. I remember, some friends that were in the business where they would show houses to people and they weren't even pre-approved yet. And then it was no big deal. Now it's like, here's the deal, here's my paperwork. Know, and I wonder if that type of consumer behavior is just starting to catch up with this industry.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I think that there are a lot of people that just look for the deal and buy whatever's online, and they think it's great. And I think they're missing out on what could be their experience with a cigar. And, a lot of the online places, they have special cigars for them. It's a different, maybe the same manufacturer, but it's a special online only. There's also a lot of pricing games that are being played online as well, which, I think the industry has gotten much better in price protection, to be honest with you. I think we see a lot of larger and smaller manufacturers do a much better job of being able to price protect their product, because no one wants to get funneled into and have that reputation that, well, that's just, now we're a brand that basically we're value priced online. I don't think people want to be that brand anymore. You see more of the premium cigars trying to keep that premium stature in the industry. And I think we've done a better job. I've personally witnessed a better job of that. I think where you do find the deals is, I've found them recently, are manufacturers that are just discontinuing lines, or they've just got a surplus of a particular brand, and that just happens to be what's on sale because they're not selling for them. They got to make room in the warehouse, in their inventory, in order for new products coming out, which even with FDA, we've still seen a bunch of new products coming out, and that's always a challenge, and the consumer can take advantage of that. So what I've been able to find, and this is only after I've educated myself, is brands that I know and love and cigars I've tried that end up online for those discounted prices for a reason. That's not that they're bad cigars. It's not that they're second rate or a special for that online retailer. It's they're just trying to make room, It doesn't even mean they're going to stop carrying them. E.P. Carrillo, for example, has gone through a big restructuring of the brand. And I think retailers are really making room for all of the newer product that's actually coming in. And I can't wait to try some of the newer product. I haven't seen a lot of the newer product because retailers are just trying to make room for it, right? I only got so much space for one manufacturer. And so I've taken advantage of a lot of those deals online. But my advice to the listeners is to be really selective, right? And if you don't know, ask someone who's a cigar geek. Go back and listen to the Stogie Geeks archives and educate yourself so that you know online that you're going to get a handmade premium cigar that you're going to like when it goes on sale. And I've been pretty selective. I know what I like. I know what's smoking good. I've, bought some stuff that I'm like, okay. Like maybe I'll let that age a little bit. Speaking to your point, Joe, know. But for the most part, I've done really well in finding those like little niches online and in retailers too. Retailers have, I've bought a significant amount of cigars from, as you guys have been reviewing a lot of the stuff that we've purchased, because they were just making room in their humidor, Right. It's not that they're bad cigars, and there's nothing wrong with that, or buying cigars at a discounted price.
But I also think it's another argument is the individual retailer. It's kind of like an almost on your honor system. So, for example, there are Keystone products where the cigar shop buys it for X amount. It sells on the shelf after all the tax and everything is, so it sells to the consumer for this. that online portion, it's playing with margins.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that
that's the
online
complaint with
portion.
online. Yes.
So in reality, if you're an online retailer and these 10, 20 boxes have not moved in 3 months, 4 months, and normally they have moved,
Right.
you need to move.
Yeah.
Because what I think a lot of consumers don't realize is that, you know, from a business perspective, they're getting inventory tax on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so that $8 cigar can end up costing the shop $16 when
It's
they
gonna
sell it.
the more it sits, the more it costs them.
The
Yeah.
more it sits, the more it costs them. So it's kind of like an egg timer.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a, you know, this is like, you know, 200 level economics margin, you know, discussion. But I really believe that the educated brick and mortar retailer who's stabbing into that line, they instead of them making the full keystone on the product, they can, you know, is it in some cases them getting their money back, and they give a deep discount. And that's where I think the reputation part comes in, where, you know, oh, well.
But it sounds like, and I think you bring up an excellent point that we haven't discussed on the show before, is that you're going to get inventory taxed on that. So if you don't make your money back, it's going to cost you money. And if it's not moving, it's better to sell it for what you paid for it. And that's when the consumer can really make out. If it's something you like to smoke, especially, right?
I can tell you a story, and I can name names because a lot of both the experienced Stogie Geeks listeners and the new experienced listeners will know which cigar I'm talking about. So when we had owned a cigar shop.
Oh, straight, because you owned a cigar shop. You knew exactly what we're talking about. Yeah.
So Indian Tobacco had come out.
Yes, I remember that. Yep.
And I can tell you that, for those of you who don't know, Indian Tobacco was Rocky Patel's first crack at the cigar industry, right? Before he created this giant that he has now. And I can tell you that Indian Tobacco cost the shop a lot of money because it was just sitting there. You know what I mean? It was sitting there. And then you think about it, you buy boxes. Now keep in mind, in those days, there was no internet, so we couldn't, you know, it was on 56K, so we couldn't, like, post, you know, buy 3 sticks, get one, or anything like that.
There was no social media back then.
There was no social media back then. There was no way. You had a little bit of an email list, but if the product wasn't moving in the shop, it doesn't matter how much you were going to sell it for. You know what I mean?
Your own list are your own customers at that point.
Yeah, you own lists, you own customers. Yeah. So if they don't like it on the shelf, and if it's half the cost, some of them might.
Some of them might bite. Some would say, "Yeah, you know, have a box
keep
for
the mosquitoes away or something like that." You know, but
my yard guard or whatever. Right. Yeah.
But again, you know, you're figuring it out, and it's like they gotta go. Now, had it been online, I am sure at a different time somebody had to have killed it with them and done well with them, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so then it could get blown out, or you can search online. So that's the benefit of that, is because you want to keep that stock rotated. You know what I mean? We all talk about age, and it's great to walk into a humidor and see something that's been sitting there for a year in a humidor, which there are cigar shops that I can pinpoint. We can go on a tour of Rhode Island or Massachusetts, and I can say, I know that's been there for a year. That particular box, you know? And it's great from an aging perspective, but very bad from a business perspective.
Yes, which is why you find a lot of the... I mean, even all the way north in Dave's shop, he has a yearly sale as well, and I'm sure he's just doing the same thing. He's just rotating through his stock just like every retailer does, and most retailers in New England have those kind of, for those of us in New England, right? And to the point, geographically, if you don't live in a place where a cigar shop is near you, then obviously you're going to have to go to online, because even if, let's say there is one cigar shop near you, they're not going to have everything that you possibly ever want to smoke. They may carry stuff for you by your suggestion, and then it's not going to sell because no one else likes it but you, and then you can get it at a discount. I've never done that purposely, but that has happened.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you've done it too, right? You recommend to this retailer, hey, I smoked a cigar, it was really good. Hey, try one. Maybe the retailer likes it too. I think I can sell this. And they don't really sell many at all. And then a year or two or more later, they're closing it out, and you buy it all on closeout because it's a cigar you like to smoke. It just didn't sell well with the rest of the consumers in that shop.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, last year I had the experience of launching a house cigar, and I put it into 7 or 8 different retailers here in Rhode Island. So I got some experience in that side of the business.
Oh, yeah.
And it's amazing how some shops, they liked it, In other shops, those boxes are still
sitting there.
You know, they sell about 2 or 3 a week because they move. But again, the whole idea of the brick and mortar cigar shop is to sell the cigars. It's got to move the product.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why, say, 5-10 years ago, you walked into a cigar shop and someone said, "Oh, can I buy a humidor?" You had like 5-6 humidors to choose from. If you get a Father's Day gift or a wedding gift, now you walk into a brick and mortar shop, you're ordering a humidor and waiting. Out of a catalog.
Right.
And you know what happens to the last minute shopper who's not educated but knows that they want to get a humidor with 10 sticks in it. You know, so that they don't know much about tobacco, and they know that, you know, Johnny wants a humidor, and we're going to get it for him. They walk into the... I see that happen at least once a week still. Like, that's going to be a challenge for the business.
Yeah.
'Cause I remember
humidors take up a lot of space, too.
Humidors take up a lot of space. You don't know what they sell. There are online retailers that can sell what's your cost. I mean, there's a lot of arguments.
Well, and I think
with the accessories.
It's a good... Well, accessories, I think, is something we haven't talked about in an online perspective either.
Because that's like the Wild West, in my opinion.
It is. And I think with humidors, especially desktop humidors, I never really liked buying them online because I never knew truly what the quality would be.
True. Yep.
You can tell when you physically hold in open and close a humidor if it is of good quality or not.
Yes.
And while you may get that the same air quotes 50 count humidor online, it can be of much less quality. It's not going to hold humidity. So that's interesting. Cutters and lighters, somewhat similar kind of story, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's the Wild West. I mean, you know, I've noticed.
I've gone through so many. We should do a whole segment on the longevity, maybe, of accessories, or you know, some of the pluses and minuses of some. It's interesting because it's not. I mean, if you buy high end, you're gonna be probably pretty happy, right? Provided you don't lose it.
Not necessarily.
But
I mean,
it depends on kind of high end we're talking about.
I've had people gift me nice high-end cutters,
and it falls
$70,
apart.
$80. The cutters, not so much. The lighters.
I've had cutters and lighters fall apart on me.
Yeah, the lighters.
Some of them pretty expensive too.
You know, someone gifts me, you know, they'll gift me this lighter, that lighter. They're in the $70, $80, $100 range.
But what's funny is if you spend even less than half that, you can get you always have that one lighter
that just works.
That just works,
Right.
and it was like 15 or 10 or 15 bucks, and you're like, it just works right now. Maybe the next person that bought that very same model, $10, $15
in the same tray.
In the same tray lasts about a week. I mean,
Yes.
I think that's the story there. So when you're buying that stuff online, you may get a discount. The problem with buying accessories, I think it's a good point since we're talking about buying cigars online. Transition quickly into buying accessories online. The return policy is not great.
Right.
So next door, I'll go buy the lighter from next door at Havana Cigar Club, and if I have a problem with it, depending which brand it is, but if I have a problem with it, if it's a particular brand, they'll just swap it out right there. Mm-hmm. And for me, I will absolutely give my money to, I'm not looking for a discount, right? My benefit is I get a brand new one if it breaks.
Right.
And not every manufacturer and every single model from every manufacturer is like, but there are certain models that, retailers will do that for you, and that's usually in conjunction with the manufacturer.
Right.
Buying online is, for lighters.
I
don't know. I mean, you could go through some of my set here, like these lighters right here. I don't know if we can switch to my other camera. I buy on Amazon for about $10, and it's a single flame, and they are all still working. I think I bought 6 of them, right, to keep in the studio because we have lighters all over the place, and it was like $10 Amazon deal. You buy like 3 to clip for $30, right? Mm-hmm. And then I don't give away any free advertising, but I bought like a really nice cutter from some folks, and it's like a really high end cutter, and I'm hoping that lasts a lifetime, right?
Yeah, cutters. I do know, and the thing is, I can tell you from my experience. So from 1998 of being in the retail business. So that I know of, accessories has always been like a thorn in the retailer side. You know what I mean? Like as far as the quality of the lighters and good names too.
Oh yeah.
And then there's always, you have some people who sell. They sell to different retail shops in the knockoff market. And you can follow them online too. and they work. $20 lighters can work just as good as a good one at some
If you get a good $20 lighter,
if you get
right?
a good one,
I think there's been
but there's no rhyme or reason like that. I don't know if there's any lack of quality control.
It is. It's just lack of. That's all it is.
Some of the Stogie Geeks listeners gave me great advice when it came to
how you fill them and care for them.
to how you fill them and care for them. And let me tell you something. This is a cheap lighter. This little.
That's one. I don't know who brands those. There's a couple of different.
Yeah,
is that La Aurora branded?
La Aurora. They have.
I think
Christoph ones.
Christoph one. Yeah, that's a company that will brand.
Yep.
With a cigar manufacturer, and I've got a bunch of those, and they work fine.
They work fine.
Yeah.
But a lot of them.
Every once in a while, you get one that's kind of a dud, no matter what you do.
You have to take care of it, and
you got to bleed it. You got to
bleed
the whole
it
thing.
when you put the propane
butane.
in. The butane, yeah, propane. Don't put propane.
Don't put propane in your lighter, no.
Yeah, right. You let it sit because of the cold. That was an amazing piece of advice I got from.
Well, yeah, the butane needs to settle down and get to a warmer temperature before it's even more combustible.
Right.
So,
but back to the online, it's like, where do you think it's going? We talk about because I feel I'm noticing a pattern from just as all business observant. Some shops I know a little bit more detail with their workings and stuff like that. But, I noticed that they're flocking online. The consumers are just really going. And some are, trying to keep up with that, and trying to do that. But where do you think it's that future is? Do you think it's going to just year after year, more people are just going to flock online and that's just the way it is?
Well, I think there's going to be subcategories inside of the cigar retail market, and I don't think there's going to be as many players inside of those subcategories, right? Okay. I think that one subcategory is the big online shops. Another subcategory is the more boutique-y online shops. In retail, there's ones that are just selling cigars with a very limited kind of lounge and no real services in their lounge. Some of those are going to survive because they're going to serve a market, but there's not going to be a huge subcategory there. Then there's the subcategory where there's a retail, so where they can buy cigars, and a bar, maybe some food. Those are going to have a subcategory. I don't think we're going to see a lot of retailers in each of those subcategories. I think they're going to be really well defined, and you're going to have a king in each one of those subcategories, and then maybe what we call a prince, right? Mm-hmm. But there's not going to be 20, 30 different choices in each of those subcategories for each geographic market, in my opinion.
Because I've done some research with the online portion and known a little bit about the business, analyzing the deal that they get online.
Yeah.
And the margins are so small.
Well, you make up for that in volume, right?
Right. But,
so,
I mean,
I think an ideal,
that's a tough business model.
It is. And it's hard because it's like running like 3 or 4 different businesses, but the retail shop that can have an online presence with a bar, maybe have some food service associated with it, manage their own humidor and have that. That's a lot. That's like 3 different businesses within one, right? Because you're a food and beverage company, you're a brick and mortar humidor, accessory cigars retailer, and you're an online retailer. Managing that is extremely difficult. If you can, I think that's a category that there is a place for, and you're going to do well. But you gotta execute well on all 3 of those fronts is going to be really hard, really hard.
Yeah,
so.
I agree. It's just a challenge because some of the older shop owners that have been around, 30, 40 years, that's a whole nother business for them. It's learning a whole nother business.
Oh, yeah.
Online,
sure. So that's some of our advice for buying online. Look for deals. And, hey, if you want to send me an email, paul@stogiegeeks.com. I'll be a little more forthcoming with where we've been getting some deals. I don't want to give, too much free advertising, as it were, away and all that kind of thing. But there's a lot of choices out there buying online, a lot of choices brick and mortar. Again, I want to encourage people, visit your brick and mortar. And once you're educated, do that shopping online. If you're a newer smoker, I think buying some sample packs is certainly appropriate. But as you're more educated, availability and sometimes those deals, once you know what you really like, can be pretty fruitful. And, of course, always visit your brick and mortars. I'm not saying don't buy from brick and mortar. In fact, I'm encouraging you to spend more time at your brick and mortar, but you can do well online too. So it's a balance. With that, we're going to take a short break, come back, and talk about our Stogies of the Week. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.